The lights dimmed for just a second, but somehow that single second felt longer than an entire song. Inside Tokyo Dome, tens of thousands of fans held their breath at the same time, as if the entire arena had synchronized into one heartbeat. And then it happened. The sound, not music at first, not even a voice, just the raw, explosive energy of anticipation breaking into reality. What is it about moments like this that feel almost unreal? Is it the scale, the sheer number of people gathered in one place for the same reason? Or is it something deeper, something emotional that can't quite be explained but is immediately felt? When Jimin stepped into the light, followed seconds later by Jungkook, the reaction wasn't just loud, it was overwhelming. It wasn't the kind of cheering you hear at a typical concert. It was closer to a release, like thousands of emotions that had been building up finally found a way out all at once. And you could hear it. You could feel it. Why do fans react this way? That's the question worth exploring, because this wasn't just about two performers walking onto a stage. It was about connection. It was about history. And maybe most importantly, it was about expectation meeting reality in the most explosive way possible. From the very first note, it was clear that this wasn't going to be an ordinary performance. There was a kind of tension in the air, not nervous tension, but electric anticipation. Every move they made, every glance, every subtle interaction between Jimin and Jungkook seemed to amplify the crowd's reaction. And here's where it gets interesting. If you really think about it, the music itself is only part of the experience. Fans already know the songs. They've streamed them, memorized them, lived with them. So why does hearing them live feel so different? Maybe it's because live performances introduce unpredictability. There's always that question lingering in the back of everyone's mind. What if something special happens tonight? And that night, something definitely did. There were moments when the music softened, and instead of explosive choreography, the focus shifted to presence. Eye contact, subtle smiles, a shared laugh between Jimin and Jungkook that seemed small but somehow sent the entire crowd into another wave of screams. Why does something so simple have such a massive impact? Because fans don't just watch, they interpret. Every gesture becomes meaningful. Every interaction becomes a story. And in that moment, the audience isn't just observing a performance, they're participating in it emotionally. There's also the undeniable chemistry between them. It's not forced. It doesn't feel rehearsed, even though, of course, it is. There's a natural rhythm to how they move together, how they react to each other, and how they respond to the crowd. That chemistry raises another question. Can something like that be taught? Or is it something that only develops over time? If you've followed their journey, you already know the answer. Years of shared experiences, training, performing, growing under constant public attention, have built a connection that goes beyond simple teamwork. And when that kind of bond is expressed on stage, it resonates in a way that feels authentic. Authenticity is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but in moments like this, you can actually see what it means. It's in the way Jimin interacts with the audience, not as distant fans, but as people he genuinely appreciates. It's in how Jungkook pushes his performance just a little further, as if he's trying to give more than what's expected. And the audience notices. You could see fans crying. Others were laughing. Some were simply frozen, trying to absorb everything happening in front of them. It wasn't just excitement. It was emotional overload. But let's pause for a second and ask something important. What makes this different from any other major concert? After all, large-scale performances happen all the time. Big crowds, impressive stages, high production value. It's not unique on its own. So why does this feel bigger? The answer might lie in the relationship between the artists and their fans. BTS didn't just build a fan base, they built a community. And that community, known as ARMY, doesn't just consume content. They engage with it, analyze it, and emotionally invest in it. So when a moment like this happens, it's not isolated. It's part of a larger narrative that fans have been following for years. Think about it. Every performance carries the weight of everything that came before it. Every smile, every interaction, every song becomes a continuation of a story that fans feel personally connected to. And that's powerful. During one of the quieter segments, when the music pulled back and the light softened, you could hear individual voices from the crowd shouting messages. Some were simple, names, expressions of love. Others were more emotional, almost like confessions. And for a brief moment, it felt less like a massive stadium and more like an intimate conversation. Isn't that strange? How can something so large feel so personal? That's the paradox of performances like this. They exist on two levels at the same time: the grand scale and the individual experience. Each person in the crowd is having their own moment, even though they're all sharing the same space. Then, just as quickly, the energy shifted again. The beat dropped, the lights intensified, and suddenly the entire stadium was moving in sync. It wasn't planned, at least not entirely. It was spontaneous, organic, driven by the shared energy of the moment. And this is where things reached another level. Because at that point, it wasn't just about watching Jimin and Jungkook perform. It was about being part of something bigger. A collective experience. A moment that can't be fully captured on video or described in words, no matter how hard you try. And yet, here we are, trying to make sense of it. Why do these moments stay with people long after the concert ends? Maybe it's because they tap into something universal. The need to feel connected. To be part of something meaningful, even if just for a few hours. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just joy. Pure, unfiltered joy. As the performance continued, there were subtle variations, small changes that made the night feel unique. A slightly different vocal run. A playful interaction that wasn't in previous shows. A moment where Jungkook seemed to react spontaneously to the crowd, creating a ripple effect of excitement. These details matter more than you might think, because for fans who follow every performance, these differences are everything. They're proof that each show isn't just a repeat. It's a living, evolving experience, and that keeps the excitement alive. It also raises another question. How do artists maintain that level of energy and authenticity night after night? It's not easy. In fact, it's incredibly demanding, physically, emotionally, mentally. And yet, when you watch them on stage, none of that struggle is visible. What you see instead is confidence, passion, and a kind of effortless presence. But is it really effortless? Or is that just the result of years of discipline and dedication? Probably the latter. And maybe that's part of what fans are responding to. Not just the performance itself, but the effort behind it. The unseen hours of practice, the pressure, the expectations. When all of that comes together in a moment like this, it creates something that feels bigger than entertainment. It feels meaningful. As the night moved toward its peak, the energy reached a level that was almost hard to process. The screams didn't fade, they intensified. The reactions didn't settle, they grew. And at some point, you have to ask yourself, can a moment like this even be sustained? Or does it exist precisely because it's temporary? Because that's the thing about experiences like this, they don't last forever. And maybe that's what makes them so powerful. The final moments carried a different kind of emotion. Not the explosive excitement of the beginning, but something deeper. A sense of appreciation. A quiet understanding that something special had just happened. And in those moments, when Jimin and Jungkook looked out at the crowd, there was a visible connection. Not just performer and audience, but something more human. Something real. So here's the question you might be asking yourself now. What does all of this mean for fans who weren't there? Can a moment like this still matter if you experienced it through a screen? The answer is yes, but differently. Because even if you weren't physically inside Tokyo Dome, the energy, the emotion, the reactions, they still reach you in some form. Through videos, through stories, through the shared excitement of other fans. And maybe that's enough to make you feel like you were part of it, even from a distance. But it also creates something else. Curiosity. The desire to experience it for yourself next time. And that's where you come in. What did you feel watching this moment? Did it surprise you? Did it live up to the hype? Or exceed it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your favorite part of the performance. And if you felt even a fraction of the energy that filled that stadium, don't forget to like, subscribe, And stay tuned, because moments like this don't just happen once. They're part of a story that's still being written.